And what was brought up? Tares, man. All right. Heathens that's looking like Israelites. So let's keep it going. But while men slept, his enemy came in, sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then have it tares? He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. All right, meaning the other nations, the other heathen nations. What did they do? They had kids with the Israelite women. All right, and what does that produce? That produce tares, man. He said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servant said unto him, Without then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat until my barn. All right. So what's going to happen to the tares? They're going to be burnt, man. What is going to happen to the wheat, which are the Israelites? They're going to be taken in. And this is what he said, this is likened unto the kingdom of heaven. So who's the kingdom? So the barn is the kingdom of heaven. Who's getting taken into the kingdom of heaven? The wheat, the Israelites. Who's getting left out of the kingdom of heaven? The Gentiles. All right. The non-Israelites, the Gentile heathens. And what else does this prove? This also proves that all Israelites are not going to be so-called black people. All right. It also proves that all so-called black people are not Israelites. All right. We have tares amongst us. So if your dad is not a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American, guess what? You are a tare. I don't care how dark you look or how much fucking you look like a Negro, Latino, or Native American. I don't care. You are a tare. Indeed, a tare. All right? Your mom cannot save you. All right? Go be mad at your mom. She should have been dealing with an Israelite man and not a so-called heathen man. All right? So you are indeed a tare if your father is not a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American. All right? Don't be mad at me. Take it up with the Father. You just read what Yahweh Shah said. He said he gonna burn y'all. But the wheat, the Israelites, he's taking it to the barn, which is what? The kingdom of heaven. So if you're not a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American, on your father's side, according to your father, you would not be going into the kingdom of heaven, man. Point blank, period. The kingdom of heaven is only for the Israelites. All right. So let's go to Acts. Let's go to Acts chapter 10. So we could see when Peter first got the understanding of going to the Gentile Israelites. All right. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. So here we're dealing with Cornelius, which is what? Which is an Israelite. Where at? In Caesarea, all right, amongst the Italian band. All right, why? Because Israel was scattered. All right. So you have Israelites in all these heathen nations, just like you had Israelites where? In the land of Samaria, mixed in amongst who? Those heathens that took over the land. And how did they get in the land? From the king of Assyria. All right. That's what the wheats and the tares are about. Okay. So just like now in America, you got Israelites here, right? That don't know they Israelites. They out there around here talking about they African American. They around here talking about they Mexican and Native American and so forth and so on. They don't know they Israelites. And then you got some of those women. They go deal with the so-called white man. They go deal with the Chinese man, East Indian man. They have kids. The kids grow up looking like they Native American or so-called Native American. Or they grow up looking like they so-called a Negro, or grow up looking like they're so-called Latino. And then they just living life, right? But then what happens? You come across an Israelite and they let you know what? Hey, yo, if your dad is a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American, you indeed are an Israelite. You're not a so-called African American. You're not a so-called Native American. You're not a so-called Latino. You're an Israelite. All right? That's what Peter is about to do right here. That's what Paul was doing. And then for the others, hey, yo, if your dad is not a Latino, if your dad is not a Native American or a so-called Negro, guess what? You're a heathen. And this is not for you. That's what this is about, man. All right? So let's get back to it. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man, and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming into him and saying unto him, Cornelius. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, What is it, Lord? And he said unto him, Thy prayers and thy alms are come up for a memorial before God. And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. He lodgeth with one Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called 2 of his household servants and a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. And when he had declared all these things unto them, he sent them to Joppa. On the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour, and he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven open and certain vessels descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the 4 corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manners of 4-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill, eat. And Peter said, Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spake unto him again the second time, What God hath cleansed, that call not thou coming. This was done twice, and the vessel which received was received up again into heaven. Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house, and stood before the gate, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit of the Lord unto him, Behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise therefore, and get thee down, and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, Behold, I am he whom ye seek. What is the cause wherefore ye are come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, and one that feareth God, and of good report among all nations of the Jews, was sworn from God by a holy angel to send for thee into his house, and to hear words of thee. Then called he them in, and lodged them. And on the morrow Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, Cornelius waited for them And he called together his kinsmen and near friends. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. So who is this many with Cornelius? These are all Israelites, man. Coming to what? Coming to hear the word of Yahushua through Peter. All right? And what were these Israelites? They was all the way in Caesarea, man. And he said unto them, Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. See that? So this is Peter just now understanding that he's able to go in these other nations and get these Israelites. Because right here he's telling you, hey, he's thinking that it's unlawful. He was thinking that it's unlawful for him to do this. So that's why when Yahushua was talking to that Samaritan woman, they was looking at him like he was crazy. And then when he was still talking to the Samaritans, when the men came, they still was like, yo, what the hell going on? Like, you know what I'm saying? What it like, I don't understand it. And then when Yahushua was telling them, hey, I got meat to eat of that y'all know not of, this is what he was talking about, because they didn't have this understanding. But now Peter is about to get this understanding that you could go into these other nations where the Israelite Gentiles are and get the Israelite Gentiles and teach them the word that they may come back in. This is what he's about to get. This is when he's about to get the understanding. So this is not Peter going to a Gentile heathen and getting a Gentile heathen. No, this is Peter going to a Gentile Israelite and teaching them who they truly are and what Yahushua was all about. All right. And he said unto them, Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come to one of another nation. But God hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. Exactly. So he's letting them know, but God, Yahweh, by saying Yahushua, what showed him when? In the vision, that he should not call any man coming or unclean. So he shouldn't call the Israelite Gentile coming or unclean. That's what that dream was about. Therefore came I unto you without gainsaying, as soon as I was sent for. I asked therefore, what intent ye have sent for me? And Cornelius said, 4 days ago I was fasting until this hour, and at the ninth hour I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing, and said, Cornelius, thy prayer is heard, and thy alms are had in remembrance in the sight of God. Send therefore to Joppa, and call hither Simon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodged in the house of one Simon a tanner by the seaside, who, when he cometh, shall speak unto thee. Immediately therefore I sent to thee, and thou hast well done that thou art come. Now therefore all we are here present before God to hear all things that are commanded thee of God. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, Of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons, but in every nation he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. Exactly. So this is, like I said, this is Peter finally getting the understanding that he could go into every nation now and get who? Those that fear of him. And who are the people that fear of the Most High? The Israelites, man. All right. And even more to the point, not just any Israelite, but a 1/3 in the elect Israelite, because 2/3 are not gonna get this or accept it. So Cornelius and his people accepted this, all right, which he was an Israelite. The word which God sent unto the children of Israel. See, who is this going to? Unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Yahweh Shai. He is Lord of all. All right. So that's what this thing. That's what this is about, man. It's always about Israel, man. Always about Israel. It ain't about these other heathens like these churches teach you, man. This thing is all about Israel. Now let's go to Romans, all right? Because now we have Peter finally getting the understanding that he could go to the Gentiles. And like I told y'all before, who else was commissioned to go to the Gentiles and speak to the Gentiles? And when I say Gentiles, I'm talking about the Israelite Gentiles, not the Gentile heathens, man. It's two different things, man. All right. So this Romans chapter 11, verse 13. For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. So this is who? This is Paul speaking to the Gentiles. What Gentiles? The Israelite Gentiles. Those that are in these other nations living as Gentiles. All right. For I speak to you Gentiles, and so inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles, I magnify my office. If by any means I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh. So he telling them, hey, yo, I'm magnifying my office. I'm doing this preaching to y'all that I may provoke y'all to emulate me, meaning to stop doing as these heathens and come back to who you really are, which are the Israelites, and do the ways of the Israelites, which if you do the ways of the Israelites, you're what? You're emulating me. You emulating Paul. That's what he's saying. He's trying to make them emulate him. Push away all that idol worshiping and get back to what? To the scriptures. All right? To the commandments. And by any means, I may provoke to emulation them which are my flesh. Who are they, Paul? They are my flesh. He's saying these Gentiles that he's talking to are his flesh and might save some of them. Exactly. And that's what we do to this day. We doing the work of Paul. When you hear us speaking out on the street corners, on your internet waves, we are what? Calling out to you Gentile Israelites that you may wake up and emulate us. All right? Because why? Because y'all are of our flesh. That we may what? That we may save some of you. And who are the ones we're going to save? We're going to save the 1/3 and the elect. All right. So you see it said, which are my flesh. So who is Paul's flesh? All right, let's go to Romans. We'll go to Romans 9 for that. We will see who Paul's flesh is, man. So this Romans chapter 9, verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. You see that? To who pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. All right. So it's all about the Israelites, man. All about the Israelites, man. And like it said who pertaineth the adoption. What's the adoption? That's Yahweh shot down on the cross, adopting us back to the Father. All right, this is for the Israelites. It say who are Israelites, to who pertaineth the adoption. It didn't say this is to all the Gentiles or to the world. It said the Israelites. So who did Christ come and die for? The Israelites. What is the adoption? The adoption is Yahweh Shai dying and adopting us back to the Father. And the glory. What is the glory? The glory is the kingdom of heaven. And the covenant. What is the covenant? That's the laws, the commandments, the statutes. And the giving of the law. The covenant is the contract. Salakia, the covenant is the contract that was made with who? Made with Moses and our forefathers. All right? With Jacob, Isaac, Abraham. Those are the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises. See, it never switches up. Whose are the fathers and whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came. Who did Christ come through? He came through what? Judah. Christ is from the tribe of Judah, man. So how you Christians think that Christ is for everybody, man, that Yahweh Shai is for everybody and everybody going to the kingdom of heaven? According to the Bible, what y'all believe is false, man. Because I'm reading the scriptures right here and it keeps saying Israelites. It's keep talking about the Israelites. Who is over all, God bless forever. Amen. All right. And for y'all that don't believe that Yahweh Shai came from Judah. I think it's Hebrews 12, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, 7. Hebrews 7. This Hebrews 7, verse 14. For it is evident that our Lord, who is the Lord, Yahweh Shai, sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. All right? So that's the tribe that Yahweh Shai came from, man. That's his people. His people are what? The Israelites. He came out of the Israelites to what? To save the Israelites. To give them what? The kingdom. What is the kingdom? The kingdom of heaven. What is salvation about? Salvation is to save them from what? From the captivity that they was put in and dispersed amongst the four corners of the earth, man. So that's what it's about, man. So that's it, man. That's your Bible versus your Christianity, man. Christianity say one thing, but the Bible say another, man. So either you gonna roll with Christianity or you gonna roll with the truth, which is the Bible. Which one? You make the decision. With that, all praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders, a great millstone. Honor to all the brethren out here doing the work in the will of the Father in truth and sincerity. Shalom.